topic because the challenge are not only faced by the Shia or for Tashayya. If we are talking specifically about Shia in the West, and we have to bear in mind that despite our connection to the honorable faith and madhab and tariqah, but not all Shias are one, politically and socially and geographically as well. So I think as a resident of Western countries, if we are talking about the West now, like North America and Europe, we have been facing and continue to face very repressive regimes and systems, despite the claim of being pro-democracy, human rights, civil rights, etc. So the people who are standing up for social justice, for freedom for Palestinian, for no imperialism and no war are facing a huge amount of challenges, whether it comes to employment or study or even socially, in addition to the brutality. And I say brutality because we have seen it by police against the demonstrators. So, we have a huge task ahead of us. And the challenge for us is how we can move collectively with like-minded people, Shia and non-Shia, and build a kind of social movement to continue advocating for our righteous issues and bring our community and allies together.
Thank you so much, Dr. Animala. So, Sakina Datu, what are your thoughts? Because you are here within the community and you also are looking at our community in different ways. And because we often discuss these things in our shows nearly every Friday, we try to do that. So, how do you see that? What kind of issues our Shia community has and the challenges it is about to face, especially if we talk about West at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, Sister Faiza, I think the challenges are multi-fold. I think to start with, I think there are three different levels at which we can you look at these challenges. The first one, I think, is the situation of the Shias worldwide, but specifically in the microscopic way, to focus what is happening in the Middle East today. Then there are challenges for, the Shias in the West when it comes to political and social aspect of it. And then the third is within the community itself, like Dr. Mala, mentioned, whereby, we have these differences within ourselves and that we are not able to really come down to what is our ideology as followers of the Ahlul Bayt and what should be a common factor. So if I start with the first one, I think it has become very clear in the past year and a few months since October 7th that the Shias were in the forefront of fighting for the freedom of Palestinians. Now, this is very much entrenched. It is not just a difference. I think there is no difference when it comes to Palestine in terms of Shia and Sunni, because it is the duty of every Muslim to ensure that if any one part of the world of the Muslim Ummah is burning, then all of us are supposed to feel the pain. That is, it isn't just for us to decide, who and how should this be done. This is a responsibility. It's not a choice. This is a responsibility within the Islamic framework. And we know that there are very clear sayings of the Holy Prophet that tells us that, if you do not feel the pain of the Ummah, then you are not one of me. So that ensures that, all Muslims have a responsibility. It's not something that, I decide to do and another Muslim may decide I don't want to do. It's not a choice. It is a responsibility upon all of us. However, if we look at the structure of the world, and this is not to say anything that only the Shias care about this. No, our Sunni brothers are hand in hand with us to fight for the freedom of the Palestinians. The sad part of it is that if you look at it in terms of the leadership, none of the Sunni-led governments are really honest when it comes to these freedoms. And so we have seen, if you look at the axis of resistance and if you look at the main part of it is led by Iran, which obviously is a Shia country. But then if you look at Lebanon, also, you see, if you look at Yemen, you see the Houthi Shias who are in the forefront of this. Now, of course, this is again not to say that there weren't Sunni Muslims in the resistance. They are, but a lot of the leadership comes from the Shia. So when it comes to the Zionists and the West's, wanting to destroy anything that questions the existence of the Zionists, then their first focus at the moment is are on the Shias. The other thing we have to, I think, keep in mind is that when it comes to a certain ideology in terms of fighting against oppression, what sets us apart is the Karbala. Karbala really sets us apart because we have something to which we so solidly connect that the concept of shahadat, for example, of death, is not scary for Shia Muslims. It shouldn't be for anyone, but in particular because we commemorate, Ashura every year, it is at the forefront of our minds, which may not be in the forefront of our, Sunni brothers because they don't constantly talk about it as we do, although the principles are the same. So I think we are in a particularly difficult time right now because there is a crackdown on the axis of resistance, and the axis of resistance is predominantly Shia. Now
Hmm.
this transfers into everybody. You talk about, the threat to our shrines, the threat to our minority Shia Muslims in Western countries. So this is one aspect of that, and I'm sure we can then delve into the other aspect of the West and within the community.
Dr. Alimala, what are your thoughts? What Sister Sakina has shared with us in terms of the challenges we have, and if you would like to add something related to the leadership of Sayyid Ali Khamenei and Sayyid Ali Sistani, and kind of protection of our, our role towards the protection of Inqilab Islami, wherever we are, this ideology has some power, and it has made us proud in many ways if we look at the current scenario, or from since Inqilab Islami has come into existence, for instance. So what sort of responsibility we all owe towards Inqilab Islami, towards Sayyid Ali Khamenei, towards Sayyid Ali Sistani, because the kind of efforts they have done so far for the tashayyu, and obviously when we talk about tashayyu, we talk about in terms of responsibility, who are leading, because at the moment we have seen major leaders have been martyred recently in past few months, you can say. So in that context, I when I talk about the tashayyu, then that's what I mean. So we all are responsible, not for only for our own selves, but obviously for everyone, even the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter its environment, no matter its human being, no matter its other schools of thought. But in particular, how do you see that, and what role do we have in that context?
Well, first of all, let me say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless both Sayyid Khamenei and Sayyid Sistani and all our Maraja with the best of health and tawfiq, inshallah.
Ilahi
Their
amin.
ideology, as Sister Sakina stated, is not something was born yesterday. It's a continuation of a very enshrined school in our thought, in our belief, in our education, let's orientation, and which goes back more than 1400 years ago. The problem they have, with their highly powerful position is to deal with the masses. And I don't claim to be an expert on Shia or Islam or etc. But unfortunately, in time where we are facing a very vicious opponents and enemies, like the Zion state in Palestine and the unconditional support from the West, we see so many groups who do not see an eye to eye with the instruction and with the guidance of both Marja, Sayyid Khamenei or Sayyid Sistani, Hafidahumullah. I think we have, as I said earlier, we have a huge issue to deal with because you both are in London, and in London you have people who claim to be Shia, people who have TV stations, people who have certain groups, and they are unfortunately either sabotaging the efforts of both marja, or even, further dividing the ummah, the community, and creating more problems. And unfortunately, giving ammunition to our opponent and to the people who are not with us online in the vision and the things how we see it. They are giving them ammunition to go further in their animosity and viciousness against us. Like what happened in the region in the Middle East, which I call West Asia, is not something lightly to be treated, because it is an open war, and it's not an open war on Muslims or Shia. It's an open war of this school, because the West, if you put it generally, don't have a problem with with Islam. They are very happy with the Islam of bin Zayed and bin Salman and Bahrain and even Pakistan and in other places. Like if we want to count, we count so many. Even people who claim to be descendant of Hashemite, like the King of Jordan. So the West has no problem with Islam. The West and the enemies have a problem with the Da'wah Karbala'iya, as Sister Sakina stated. This school of thought, this continuation of the concept, be willing to die for your belief, not because we love to die, no, but because we will never submit to humility and to injustice, to tyranny. And this is what we are, and this is what we are advocating, which put us in the same line with other people who may not be Muslim or even a Christian or belonging to other faith, but they have a strong conviction and strong commitment to social justice, to equity and equality. Even the late Malcolm X said, if you are not willing to die for freedom, take it out of your vocabulary. And this reminds me all the time with Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam and his companion, بالموت تهددنا يا ابن الطلقاء. It's like you threaten us by death, and with all the other noble quotes. So to go back to both marja, and as I said, I don't claim to be an expert, but I see it as a huge problem. Even I see it here in Canada. I see it in the Islamic world, like whether even in Lebanon, Lebanon, subhanallah, you have people who claim to be Shia with Amama, either Sayyid or Sheikh, and they had nothing during this 14 months of war and slaughter and genocide against Palestinians and Lebanese after August, September. They have nothing but to attack and negatively criticize and actually, add to the fire against the resistance, which we know, it happened to be that is led by great leaders, whether from Lebanon or in Iran or in Yemen and some of it in Iraq. So, like, to generalize and talk about Shia, I think, and maybe this is not the time to really go deeper into it, but literally we have to divide between the people who are the follower of the righteous path, the path of haqq, the path of dignity, and the path of true commitment to Karbala and Ashura, to concept and values. And we have the rest who are not, unfortunately. And to tackle those, it's a very huge challenge. And I see the challenge because it further divides. I cannot believe, in these days and age when you have all information available, like 400 years ago it wasn't, like 1,000 years ago it wasn't, but now you have everything available and under your fingertips, and you still have people, subhanallah, still advocating and pushing the agenda of batil. And this is the problem we deal with.
That's really
In
true,
addition to the
Doctor.
other,
Yeah. Yeah, you
yeah,
can
I
add
meant in
this.
addition to the other, yeah, in addition to the other problems we have with faith. Subhanallah, look what happened in Syria and look what happened in Pakistan. How is it a Muslim in Pakistan will kill another Muslim and scream Allahu Akbar?
That's
With all due respect to Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. What Allah you're calling for when you slaughter honest people and scream Allah's name? So
That's very true. So it's kind of sometimes I look at the Kfiriyat in terms of Muslim Zionist. So the kind of Islam we see in Arab countries, and it doesn't harm anyone except the brother and sister who are Muslims and who are suppressed and oppressed by. I think so. Whatever is going on in Palestine, for instance, the major role. We could talk about Israel, US, or whatsoever countries, but the major role player are the Arab countries and the Muslim countries and the leadership of Muslim countries. Like before this program, I was just talking about Parachanar, in which the Shia is also being targeted by, for example, the government of the Pakistan. All three areas of that place are connected to Afghanistan, for instance, and the people are in siege as well. And 31 children has died just because roads are closed, no one can go there, and there is no food and no other facilities available in the hospitals, etc. So this is the kind of situation we are in. The people and the people of Parachanar are, for instance, the most educated, well behaved, loyal to their country. These are those people who fight with their army and they protect their own army, for instance. But their convoy is attacked like a few weeks ago, and there was like more than 56 people who were martyred in that attack from the other groups who are Takfiris and so on. So this is the kind of situation we are living in, sister. And as Dr. Mala has Ali Mala has also mentioned something very important, especially if we talk about UK and the Shias of UK, the kind of confusion and division we see in terms of Inqilab Islami and the people who try to keep us away from Sayyid Ali Khamenei and Sayyid Ali Sistani is a major issue. And many Shias I have seen who don't even understand this significant aspect. So how do you see this? How much important it is for us to understand the reality of today and how the leadership of Sayyid Ali Khamenei is leading Ummah, I would say, not just the Shia, but the Ummah, and how much important for us to preserve that effort which he is doing for all the humanity, not only even Muslim, I would say. Is because liberation of Palestine is liberation of humanity, even because these people who are Zionist and doing all the atrocities, they are not even loyal to their own people. They are even not loyal to the people within their own country. When it comes to their objective, they wouldn't mind killing their own people, I would say. So this is the kind of condition our humanity is living in, and the reason we need to preserve tashayyo, for example, from the perspective of ideology, for instance, what Inqilab Islami has given, what Imam Khomeini Rahmatullah Alayh has stood for and worked for. As he said, the Inqilab Islami has its root in Ashura, the one like Imam Hussein. What Imam Hussein stood for, and what Imam Hussein stood for, it was Islah of Ummah, guidance of Ummah. So this is something we as a preserver or protector or the future of the Shia are supposed to do. How do you see this aspect, and how important it is for us to understand this reality and work towards that?
I think for me, it is, they may look like there's a lot of factions, there's a lot of different, confusions. But for me, it's very simple, to be honest. For me, it is the fight between the good and the bad that has existed since the first day that the world was created. It's as simple as that. There is a group of people who will always be seeking to do good, which is to ensure human values, to ensure freedom, to ensure justice. And there is the other group which does not want that, because they want to control, they want to be better off than others, they want to have more resources than others. And in the present day scenario, if we look at the world we are in, it is simply Zionism against the rest, in my view. So Zionism is not just what we are witnessing in Israel. I think Zionism exists in the West, very strongly entrenched, and you will find Zionism in the Middle East. When we're talking about the West, we're talking about Christian Zionism, We see a lot of that in the America, for example. The support for Israel basically comes from the Zionist Christians, and now that Donald Trump is going to be the president, he is one of those who supported mostly by these Christian Zionists. And when we're talking about the Middle East, I think we have to differentiate. I would never say that what is happening within the leadership of Muslim countries is our brothers Sunni Muslims. The majority of the people who live in these countries do not agree with their governments, but their governments are Muslim Zionists. And if you take together the Muslim Zionists and the Christian Zionists and the Jewish Zionists, they are all one and the same. They are the same people who advocate imperialism, who believe in occupying other nations and want to just amass all the power over everybody else. So I think it is very simple. Wherever in the world we're looking at, it is the fight between some form of Zionism against the people who want justice and humanity. Now, when it comes to the UK, again, in the UK we have the same concept that this Zionism has entered the Muslim, and not just Muslim, but within the Shias. And so we will have, this concept of British Shiaism, whereby we believe that, we can become independent. We don't need anyone in the Middle East. We don't need to look up to marja'iyat within the Middle East. We can create our own marja and we can have our own form of Shiaism. I think, like Dr. Mala said, the state or the powers, so be, they don't have a problem with our simple, basic, Shiaism. They will support us to build the mosque. They will give us funding. In Ramadan, they will make all facilities for us, and they're happy with that. Keep praying in the mosque, keep doing your zakah and fasting, and you want to wear hijab other than France, in UK, for example, there's huge freedom. You want to wear niqab, go ahead and wear niqab. Do not enter into the field of politics, because that is where the problem lies. So I think a lot of us buy into that and believe that we should be advocating because this is for our own personal benefit. And this is one of the issues I struggle with a lot, coming from the community that is very apolitical, that we have to always protect ourselves. Let's not say this, let's not speak this, let's not be seen to be advocates for Iran, for example, because otherwise we will lose out our privileges. But you living under these privileges and not speaking out for the truth is totally wholly against what we stand for in the first place. It would have been very easy for Imam Hussein, for example, to make negotiations and to have some kind of agreements with Yazid, to say, okay, you want me to give you bayah, maybe I can't give it to you openly because then I'll find backlash, but let's do a deal so that you can do your bit and I can do my bit. No, Imam Hussein said, under no circumstances is a person like me giving bayah to a person like you. And saying a person like me means that all of us are included into that. So if you connect with Imam Hussein, then you are that kind of person who is with Imam Hussein. Now, what are the issues we see here also is when it comes to marja'iyat, the concept of the leadership we have in Aga Sistani, for example, and Sayyid Khamenei, there is also the concept within Shiaism of wilayat-e-faqih. So, you may do, the taqleed of anyone. I mean, many of us do the taqleed of Sayyid Sistani. There are others who do the taqleed of different people. However, there is a concept of wilayatul faqih, and the wilayatul faqih is in the hands at the moment of Sayyid Khamenei. So even if you do not follow his rulings, as in day to day on how to do your basic, fiqh, you still, what he stands for still is incumbent upon us. And so this is a concept that is very hugely misunderstood, especially here in the West, thinking that, for example, we do not side with Sayyid Khamenei because he is not our Maraja. This is not about being a Maraja. Sayyid Sistani, if you look into it, has never gone against anything that Sayyid Khamenei says, because even he is in agreement in the concept of the fact that Sayyid Khamenei at the moment is the wilaya-e-faqih. And God give them a long life, and God protect them. But there is a problem, and I think, within our own Muslims, there is compromises. People will call us stooges of Iran, or stooge of that, and this, and I think there is a huge issue of aqaid, of understanding our aqidah, and to realize that, this is the principle. If you don't believe in it, then you, unfortunately, you are just outside the fold of what the mazhab of Ahlul Bayt is all about.
That's very true, Sister Sakina. Dr. Alimala, if you would like to add something which Sister Sakina has just discussed about Vilayat Faqih, especially the concept of Vilayat Faqih, which is, I think, so sometimes not only misunderstood, in fact, it is kind of a concept in a very huge community within the Shia, I guess, who start fighting over it and they misunderstood it, and they start interpreting it in a very, very negative or wrong way. So we don't get into the interpretation of it, but obviously at the moment he Vilayat Faqih Sayyid Ali Khamenei is the one who is actually leading the ummah with true principles of Islam, true principles of Quran and Ahlul Bayt, true principles of even international law. If we see so far the role he has played so far in terms of Gaza, and the kind of atrocities happened so far, and everything is going on. So he is the one who is not even taking any single step which goes beyond the laws of humanity, laws of international community, laws of Sharia or anyone. So how important it is for us to stick to Vilayat Faqih and his wilaya, in the sense that we take his orders seriously, take his suggestions and advices and the speeches and the guidance he convey to us with purity of our hearts and minds, that would help us in many ways. And that's the reason I feel that we are still in struggle, because there are many who just are attached to worldly desires or materialistic words or Zionist agendas and whatsoever, however you name it, it's up to them. The second thing is, the Zionists we were talking about earlier. Zionists are also in India as well. For instance, we have seen this, how the it is affecting the Muslims of India through laws, restrictions, demolishing their mosque. Even in many cities, Indian Muslims cannot buy their own, for example, properties. And how Modi government or the Modi did in previous his when he was, I think so, chief minister or something, and the incident happened and he killed so many people in India as well. So the same thing is going on in there as well, because they follow the footstep of Israel as well, and they think they are very big, huge power, and they can do, and they are taking the identity of Muslims. I mean, you can live there, but you have to be Hindustani, for instance, and you have to keep proving that, for instance. So in Kashmir, for example, people are not able to speak, or they don't have freedom of speech, for instance. So this is something happening to the all Muslim around the world, and the Muslim Zionist, Hindu Zionist, or whatever Zionist you name it, they are controlling. So how do you think the Shia elite, I mean, here is the only one who, all those who really care about their duty towards humanity, towards justice, towards truth, towards peace, towards human rights in essence, and who are determined and dedicated, and who would wish to work for it, for example, can work together and empower each other, in the sense that they could fight this Zionist agenda in an effective way, for example, because obviously Zionists have all the resources around the globe. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, let me say that you and Sister Sakina brought very important points, and each point I think deserves more than one show if we are able to really to address it somehow a little bit more properly, because the marja'iyya and wilayat al-faqih, and again, I don't claim to be expert at all, I don't claim to be scholar, but for many years I've been advocating and talking to the people who are willing to listen to me, that I think time has come for the unification of marja'iyya. And I know this is very sensitive topic, very itchy topic, but hey, let's look at the West. Why we have one Vatican, as one leader, for the Universal Catholic Church, and why we cannot have it for at least Shias. But here you have, as Sister Sakina and you stated, you have the self-interest, serving people. You have the people who sold themselves for, the lowest or the highest bidder. And unfortunately, we are paying the price. Look at our sisters and brothers in Syria, like in many areas in Homs and Lubnan and Azahra, and how they are treated, like we know what happened in Iraq and we know what happened in Lebanon way before this crisis, exploded again, where, certain Shia places and Husayniya and other were targeted by other Muslims. So as I said, very, very important points being raised here. And you brought the issue of India and Kashmir. Kashmir is the same old age as of Palestine. Both belongs back to 1947. And both were subject to the so-called United Nations and international community and this and that, and, but nothing being translated on the ground because, there is no international community. Yes, maybe by title there is international law, but nobody is willing to implement those type of international law when it comes to address aggression, imperialism, colonialism, and all this type of stuff. And then you have in areas in the Muslim world, instead of the focus be on how to really build or help our ummah to really take care of its affair, we see hundreds of millions of dollars, if you call, being spent on fostering the divide. Like you open YouTube and you would find nine speeches or preachers talking about Rafida and talking about this and talking about that, and almost barely you may find 1 out of 10 or even less talking about Palestine. And I will never say Palestine is a Sunnah. Palestine is a Muslim, and the question of Palestinian struggle is not a matter of religiously. It's a matter of human rights, and it's a matter of like the new concept of dignity for all and the people of the right of the people of who are oppressed to fight off their oppressor. So to go back, you find many websites and many YouTube, many video, many media sites, instead of advocating on the right issues and how the Muslim community and the world in general, would benefit from furthering a much better orientation, calls for, for social cohesiveness. Let's remember, it's in our Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us, order us, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. United all, with the path of Allah and don't divide. But unfortunately, a lot of people, Shia and Sunni and others, are not doing that. So, maybe another time, you will bring some scholars, to talk about this, the unification of Marja'iyah or the need for that. Different time, requires different measures. We know when you approach this subject, then you got voices, and I hear some voices here. Arab versus non-Arabs, Arab versus Ajam. It's like subhanallah. Like here you live. I live in Canada, and the prime minister is the prime minister. It doesn't matter his color, his name, his background, his religious or non-religious, and the same for you in the UK and in other, Western countries. But in our own people circle, you hear this, Arabi, non-Arabic, Ajami, Farisi or non-Farisi, South Asian or South Asians. I go to this Husayniya, but I don't go to this Husayniya. Many of us, unfortunately, even though with the best intentions, are not really, I don't want to say practicing, but not really understanding the impact of some of the behavior or the talk, whether among communities or among other groups. Which I'll go back to Palestine, and it was heartbreaking to start seeing voices from Palestine, unfortunately, despite all the support from Sayyid Khamenei, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him with the best of health,
Like,
and Iraqi, and with the sacrifice of we know without going into details of Lebanese and Yemeni and others, and the heavy price we pay, and Alhamdulillah, we pay heavy price, but Alhamdulillah, this is our path. So despite all those sacrifices, it really breaks my heart. Not when I see those people who consider themselves as Israeli Arab, because there is no Israeli Arab, period. This is nonsense here. But when you hear people who are supposed to be part of the resistance turn 180 degrees and start bashing, the axis of resistance, start minimizing the role of the axis of resistance and praising a terrorist group, you know, I didn't label them. It was the West, it was the American, and it was, other countries in the region labeled, Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, and Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and others as a terrorist groups. Now they are all together in the same bed, and not from now, but from the day of their inception. And you hear this kind of ugly sectarianism, and as I said, it's it is so difficult to accept. And I don't know about Sister Sakina. Maybe later on, Sakina and I, we have our contact and we can further more. But now I'm seeing a problem here. So many people in my community, and when I say my community, not just the Lebanese, are very hesitant to join rallies or actions for Palestine, because when they go there, you will hear slogans, supporting what happened in Syria with the Syrian flag, and those people who celebrated the passing of leaders of the axis of resistance. So this is another challenge we are facing. And for you in London, you have also very delicate situation to deal with, because I know some of the history of the Stop the War coalition in UK, and in many areas or on many files, they sided with people who are not so friendly to the axis of resistance, while the call is to support Palestine and to fight imperialism and colonialism, etc. So you see how we started with Shiism, and how it's filtering down in many fronts, and this is just to show us the amount of challenges we are facing, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all and to protect our leaders,
Ilahi.
in guiding us for the right path,
That's really true. Sister Sakina, what are your thoughts what Dr. Ali Mala said? Because, initially he also mentioned some aspects related to the demonstrator who are obviously arrested, and we discussed that in our shows as well. And currently, whatever he has said is very important as well. Do you think the community we have over here in UK, for instance, if we just look at the Shayo, for instance, at the moment, are prepared for doing their job, the right job, which is really important to do? And what do you think the kind of work we really need to do as a community in the West, for instance? And for obviously, when we talk about like Tashayu, it means that the people who take responsibility of being the Abd Khuda, for instance, as a vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as an obedient servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet Muhammad and Ahlul Bayt and Imam Hussain alayhi salam and Janab Sayyida Fatima salamullah alaiha, and the people who love to follow Janab Zainab salamullah alaiha in their like as their uswa or as role model. So do you see we do have such people who are really serious, and how much important it is for the people to connect with each other on the serious issues, on these serious issues we have discussed so far, and to work for them? Because the people who are creating misinformation, divisions, negativity, and who are promoting the agendas of Zionists within our communities, and we sometimes as a layperson don't even understand. We think, oh, this is somebody is talking about this, and this must be very very friendly to, for example, Sayyid Ali Khamenei. But in the end, when we look closely and we look at things deeply, we see that this is not something he is doing friendly, but it is something kind of stabbing on the back of them, for instance. So this is something very important, that kind of wisdom. Where do we get it from, and how would we protect the intellect of those people who have that intellect, for instance, and who have that understanding, and who own that responsibility and stuff like that. So what in next 5 years we are about to see, and what challenges do we have, and what do we really need to do?
So I think, you know, when
Just to let you know, we have like 5, 7, 5, 6 minutes maybe we do have. So just to conclude.
when we look at the emotional aspect of the lovers of Ahlul Bayt, I think we would score a positive, you know, a star, because when it comes to our love for the Ahlul Bayt and connection, there is no questioning that you know, all Shias, I think, deeply love the Ahlul Bayt. You know, we will go into our mosque, and the very mention of Imam Hussein or Sayyida Fatima or Sayyida Zainab, you know, tears will roll down our eyes, and we genuinely love the Ahlul Bayt. But unfortunately, I think that is where we've limited it to, on a large aspect. When it comes to the intellectual, and when it comes to really, you know, understanding the concept behind it, uh, we have really not progressed too much. We limit it to our day to day, you know, love and rituals when it comes to tashayyur. So I think what is happening right now, and the challenges you're talking about, the challenges are really just starting, I think, and especially for Western Shia. I think now, in the next 5 years, we are going to see the kind of crackdown that we have seen happening in the Middle East is going to come to the West. Because in one way, if you look at it, we have a power, and we've been using the freedom of speech that exists in the West to speak out quite strongly. And I think this will be curtailed. You know, we won't have too long to keep to having this freedom. What I believe is happening, and we know that, you know, we are told that before the coming of the Imam, there will be a sifting of people. Now, of course, this is not to say that, you know, we Imam is coming tomorrow or the day after. Nobody really knows when Imam is coming. However, we can see a lot of signs. A lot of things are pointing to the fact that, you know, we don't know how the length will be, but there are signs that we are going towards that path of where the Imam is, you know, will be returning. And therefore, before that happens, there will be a lot of sifting through of who is who and what your strong beliefs are. Now, when these challenges come to the West, literally we will be being sifted. And so we have to really know which path we are on. If at some point we will become so scared to say that, you know, no, 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 let's protect our communities, let's protect ourselves, let's not speak out, because, you know, then you are siding you are choosing the side you are going to be on. And that is not the side of Imam Mahdi. Because when Imam Mahdi comes, you know, it's not, sometimes we have this very romantic fantasy that, you know, Imam will come and then it will be so amazing, and you know, we will all suddenly just be with him. There's going to be a lot of sacrifices needed in order to be in the army of Imam. And there will be some of the you know, hadiths, when you read about them, about the kind of bloodshed. You're told that Medina, for example, will be rivers of blood will be flowing. Yeah, this is a sign that without giving the blood, without giving the sacrifices, you're not going to be part of the army of the Imam. And therefore, I think this is a time for us to start thinking through all this and to realize that it is now coming. If we were immune to it, the challenge that is in the Middle East is coming to us. On one aspect, this takfiri concept that we are talking about, these guys who have gone into Syria, they were trained in Turkey. Turkey is on the shore of Europe. So they are already in Europe, and they is going to go spread further, because now they will be removed from being proscribed group, and they can freely, you know, practice everywhere. Their targets are Shias everywhere. So we really have to, I think, you know, keep this in mind. My biggest problem is not with the generation that is, you know, going off. It's with the young people, with our children, because our children are going to face the brunt of this challenge. So, how are we preparing them? What messaging are we giving them? In terms of our centers, do we just limit it again to majalis, which involves just crying for Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Or are we really passing on the message? What political messaging are we giving to our children? What are we
Okay.
saying to them? The father was talking about being Arab and Ajam and being a Lebanese or being a Khoja or being a Pakistani. We have to find a manner in which our next generation understands truly what being Husseini really means and what it will take to be in the army of our Imam, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Sister Sakina. Dr. Alimana, we just have left few minutes, like 2-3 minutes. If you would like to add something related to what Sister
Yes,
Sakina has said,
um,
and I see like individual efforts are there sometime, but we are not making them stronger or organizing ourselves in the manner we should be.
well, first of all, inshallah, Allahumma ajil dhuhur al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wassalam. Uh, well, we are, many of us are working very hard. But as we stated from the beginning, the challenges are huge. One of the challenge which we haven't touched is, about our youth and how we help them understand, and bear in mind that they come to Husseiniya and hear something, and then they go to certain lecture or event from someone, who's claim to fame that he is appealing and he this and he speaks with no accent, and he, or she understand the full Islam, and now they are a kind like a marja, and then they start spreading, you know, some misguided information. The issue of Zuhur alayhi salatu wasalam is not something unique for us or Shia. Keep in mind, Sister Sakina talk about the Christian Zionists. The Christian Zionists believe in it, and that's why they have unequivocal support for the Zion state, because they believe, the Messiah will come back and everybody will convert to Judaism, and the people who don't be, to Christians, and the people who don't, be it Jews, non-Jews, Muslim, etc., they will be killed. And imagine this coming from supposed to be a religious authority, which many churches, evangelical churches, are subscribed to it. Uh, Finally, sisters, I see it in my own community, and the I don't want to say stray away, no, but there is challenge of delivering the message or conveying the message to our youth who were born in Western countries, goes to Western institutions, go to Western education, and they have to deal with our own issues or the parents' issues, and some concept may be totally strange to them, and then, as I said, they got this young man or middle-aged man or woman, and they start in their TV channel, etc., and spreading all type of messages. Yes, the issue of Karbala and the emotion is very important, but in the same time, many of us, unfortunately, they have clouded vision of Ashura. They understand
Yeah.
Ashura as only tatbik, as only walking, as only but the other aspect of Ashura they don't understand it, and this is the pro or they. I don't want to say they don't understand it. Maybe they don't accept it, as is, as a 100%. You tell them, like, okay, well, this is act of Ashura, but also this is another act. Like people refer to Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Oh, in time of fitna and chaos and storm, find the shelter and head away. But they don't look at the other quote of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Don't be afraid of following the righteous path or taking the righteous path, even though if it was a less traveled. So, here you have this kind of contradiction in between. I know that your time is running out. So I want to thank you both
Thank
sisters, and inshallah we stay in touch and we stay connected. And yes, it is very important issues, and you know what? We have to address it, and we have to address it publicly. We have to address the behavior of some so-called imams, who goes on media outlet and start bashing the Sahaba of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, or the wives, or bringing all kind of fitnas, because we mentioned earlier about both great leaders, Sayyid Khamenei and Sayyid Sistani, Hafidhahullah, I never heard any of them cursing anybody. I never heard any of them spreading this kind of fitna or bad negative attention to that period. Also, I don't know, and I could be wrong, and I hope I'm not wrong. I don't know of any imams who in their life, use fitna, use, vulgarity, use curses against any of their opponent. So I think this is a huge issue. We need not us, but the community has to deal with, because this is giving the takfiris and the movers behind of those takfiris, because those are, swim in a very dark circles, Western and some puppet regimes in the region, and they are used as a pawn. To go back to the earlier minute of the session, is not their war is not with Islam. Is war is with the Muslims or non-Muslims who are challenging the status quo and taking a rightful stance. So,
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali
thank
Mala.
you.
Thank you so much, Sakina. I'm really honored to have you both on the show, and we discussed very important point. I hope it will be helpful for the people who might be watching. So, to the community, I would just say we all need to work together. We need to unite ourselves, and we need to filter out all the discrepancies we have among us, and we need to think about our future. So, I'll take a leave over here. Inshallah, we'll see you next week, and we'd like to just say thank you to all who were watching, and to all my guests. And we just need to focus on how we are going to prepare for Imam of our time. So if we have to prepare, then we have to do something right. So look after yourself. Allah Hafiz.